have a very special returning guest. I have former cruiserweight world champion and Sky Sports pundit Glenn McCrory with me. How are you doing tonight, Glenn?
Yeah, doing very good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, UK boxing at the moment, I'll just reel off a few names. You've got Brook, you've got Selby, you've got DeGale, you've got Joshua, you've got Fury. UK boxing's just flying at the moment, isn't it? I mean, with the exception of Kevin Mitchell, who that was unfortunate. I mean, I watched that fight and unfortunately got a bad cut and got worn down at the end. But that was probably one of the best fights of his career, if not the best fight of his career. And of course, with the exception of Paul Smith today, who no begrudging that. I mean, he went down to Andre Ward, who's going to go down as one of the best fighters of all time. Boxing in the UK is just flying at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, boxing's doing extremely well. It's I think the build-up to the Olympic Games was great, and the amateur boxing doing so well in the Olympics and winning the competition. I think just one thing after another is pushing boxing in the UK and Ireland to great heights, and fighters continue to do better and better. And I think all of a sudden there's the realization that fighters can achieve world titles. That they can get up there amongst the best in the world, and I think there's a great sense of belief in British boxing and Irish boxing now.
Everyone's talking about Brook and Joshua and Froch and Tegale and Groves and these type of guys, but I want to talk about Lee Selby, who I think is one of the fastest improving guys in the sport, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, could be a future pound for pound guy. He's just improving at a rapid rate, and he treated Gradovich, who's a very good fighter, like a sparring partner. That was a magnificent performance, wasn't it? And Selby could be
Selby could be a great. I mean, he's come on the scene. He's done everything that's been asked of him, and he's done it all, really, really in second gear. So I think there's a great future for him. We saw against Gradovich. It's almost like the better the fighter, the better Lee Selby is. So looking for some great fights from Lee Selby. He's definitely a superb talent, and I think the more the British public see of him, the bigger he'll become.
Yeah, he fights like he's in cruise control. I obviously most of the fights that are in the UK are in bed, and while I'm in bed in Australia, and I go up in the morning, and a friend of mine, another UK journalist, said, "Have you watched the fight yet?" I said, I watched a couple. I watched DeGale and I watched Joshua, and he said, "Have you watched the Selby fight yet?" I said, "No, I haven't got around to watching it yet." He said, "Put it on." I said, "Well, I'll put it on." But I said to him, "Surely he can't fight a better fight than he did against Broker." Well, I was wrong about that, because he fought a magnificent fight against Gradovich, and there's no telling how far Selby can go.
Yeah, I mean, I think Selby's done tremendous. He's a world champion now, which is terrific. But there's great fights. There's great fights out there for him, isn't there? There's big names, featherweight division. Nicholas Walters didn't look great the other day defending his title. We've got the magnificent Vasily Lomachenko, haven't we? Who's up there, as well as great names like Tony Gonzalez and Abner Maris. So Selby's in a good weight division, but also you wonder if Selby, I don't know what his weight's like, but there's maybe beneath him there's fights for Rigondo or Frampton or Santa Cruz if he wants to go to super bantam. Amongst the small men, Selby's going to be a fighter that people want to fight.
Yeah, well, him and Frampton would be an absolute classic, and I think it'd be a great fight for the UK and be a great one to see. But moving on, Tyson Fury, he's obviously, it looks like he's going to be fighting Klitschko in September or October. How do you see his chances? How do you see his chances against Klitschko, Glenn? Do you give him a chance?
Well, you've got to give him a chance in the heavyweight division. You know, we saw against with Deontay Wilder that if somebody's off form, anything can happen. But he only made Eric Molina, look okay. So Tyson Fury is an undefeated fighter. He's 24, and he's earned this opportunity. I'm looking forward to see him in with Vladimir Klitschko. The one thing we haven't seen from Tyson Fury is a serious Tyson Fury. Somebody, who really just gets down to work. He's always got to be joking and playing about, dropping his hands and doing silly things. So hopefully in this fight against Klitschko, we see Tyson Fury really in the zone and doing, trying really hard. But he'll have to, he'll have to do that. And you don't know, you never know. I mean, he's a big man. He can punch, he can box. He's got bags of heart and courage. You can't count him out.
Okay, well, Joshua. Ironically, they brought Kevin Johnson in to hopefully give Fury hopefully give Joshua some rounds. Or that didn't happen. A lot of the, guys like the Jazoras and guys around that mark don't seem to want to risk themselves against Joshua. So the question is, Glenn, who do you give Joshua to next?
Well, they're in an interesting position with Joshua because he's going through all the sort of contenders very easily. I thought that was always going to be an easy fight because although Johnson stands up to people and fiddles around, he doesn't throw a lot back. Well, if you don't throw anything back with Joshua, he's going to knock you out. So you want somebody that's competitive, that's strong. You've got a Big Daddy Byrne. You've got yourselves down there, haven't you? He's a big, strong guy who's an undefeated record. I think that would certainly be a fight in the pipeline, fight that I'd want to see. He's come world champion, so that's a good fight. Dillian White is coming up. He's beaten Joshua in the amateurs. David Price, I think I would like to see him against because he brings something different to the table. He brings height and reach, and that's Josh has never been with a bigger man than himself. So there's plenty of fights out there. Lots of fights out there.
Well, after Amir Khan's, I suppose you'd have to say, less than impressive performance against Algieri. Yeah, he won the fight, but I'm sure he didn't win it in the manner that I'm sure he was either expecting or wanted to win it. Do you think he deserves the fight against Mayweather after that performance, or should it perhaps go to UK compatriot Cal Brook instead?
I mean, I think either one of the fighters are deserved of a Mayweather shot. The fact is, it's not really down to who deserves the shot with Mayweather. The two Mayweather picks. He's in pole position. He does. Mayweather does what Mayweather wants, doesn't he? And he gets the fights he wants. He doesn't care about sanctions. He doesn't care about any of that. So it's really, both fighters are very deserved of a shot against Mayweather, or as deserved as any other person. But Mayweather does what he wants. So we don't know who he's gonna put in there with him.
Okay. The Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, in the end, did it play out the way you expected to, Glenn? And because of Pacquiao's shoulder injury, do you think the fight is deserving of a rematch or not?
I don't particularly think so. I think Pacquiao, he made the excuse. He made, first of all, he said that he thought he'd won the fight, which was ridiculous. Then all of a sudden he's got an excuse that he had a bad shoulder. I think there was a little bit of bad sportsmanship from Manny Pacquiao, who was really, Mayweather did what he always does, and that's just, he takes away the powers of fighters. Anything they're good at, he takes that away. And Pacquiao, he was disappointing. Mayweather did what he does best, defensive boxing, counter punching. That's what we used to from Floyd Mayweather. But I think he also, in the first 3 rounds, did what he had to do, and that was put Pacquiao in his place. He went in the center of the ring and hit him with some good shots. And I just think after that point, Manny Pacquiao, just didn't really fancy it. He certainly didn't want to engage with him. He got him on the ropes enough times, and then it was Pacquiao who was backing off, which was, you don't normally see that, do you? So I think Mayweather, he boxed, can I say, within himself against Pacquiao, and I think that fight, I can't see Pacquiao doing any better.
Yeah. Well, a couple of final questions. I heard your and Adam Smith's call of the Broner Porter fight. Great call, by the way, Glenn. What you said was, it was pretty accurate. That Broner was just not really putting forth much of an effort, except trying to do one sort of blast out counter shot per round to get Porter out of there, and Porter was much more aggressive with the volume and the activity, and Broner seemed to do a lot of holding and not much else. The question is, where does Broner go now? Does he continue on? Does he have to?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where he goes. I mean, one thing's for sure is, Broner, he calls himself the problem. Well, that problem has been well and truly solved, hasn't it? Yeah. Marcus Maidana, showed everybody what he has to do. You just got to be aggressive, put the pressure on him, and he doesn't want it. And I think he's a fighter now that, as you say in the game, is a bit gun shy. He's lost his confidence, and when he throw rapid combinations, he's one punch and then he has to grab, and that's when fighters get like that. That's because they're scared of the retaliation. They're scared of something coming back at them. And I think, that's what happens. And you can be a super talented fighter, but nobody likes getting punched in the mouth. And I think that a few punches from Maidana in the mouth and Maidana's rough tactics have really just have solved the problem of Adrian Broner. And it's going to be, he's going to have his credibility's gone as well. Luckily, he pulled out one good punch in the 12th rounds, but it was a very, very casual Sean Porter who kind of, just resigned himself to a points win when Broner caught him. So he got one little bit of credibility, but other than that, there's not much credibility left for Adrian Broner. And he makes, he doesn't make matters worse for himself with his, distasteful comments. So he really is a person that when things aren't going good for him, and he looks around for people to help him, there's going to be nobody there. There's going to be nobody wanting to give Adrian Broner a hand up. And, that's everything he deserves. He's a 3-weight world champion. He's only 25 years of age. There's a lot more he could certainly do. But for me, he needs to go back down to lightweight, get himself established again. And he's not big enough for the welterweights. He's not big enough to challenge the top guys.
Well, yeah. Just one final question. I don't think anyone really expected Paul Smith to face Andre Ward, but what they expected was a competitive performance, and whether it was the weight issues or the game plan, it just wasn't the normal Paul Smith tonight, was it?
No, I mean, to be honest, I think Paul Smith knows, he's had a good year, even though he had 2 losing fights off Abraham. This was a payday that presented itself. He made a mess of it. It was very, very unsportsmanlike and unprofessional to fail the weight by so much. It really sort of made a little bit of mockery of a great champion in Andre Ward. He did his best. He's a tough guy, Paul, but I think it's really just all about levels and class class told, Underwood's, is the best super middleweight in the world until somebody proves otherwise. And I'm not sure there's anybody out there at this moment, unless he goes up to light heavyweight and challenges Stevenson or Kovalev, that's going to touch him, because he is he's a class act, Underwood, inside and outside the ring.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for joining us for the second time, Glenn, and have a good trip back home.
Cheers, my friend. You take care. God bless.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay.